And if we're so driven by bigotry and hate that we attack our fellow citizens as traitors, if they're born in another country or they don't look like us, and God help us. But I have faith because of folks like you. And Adam, I didn't expect this would be quite so emotional either, but it must be an Adam thing today. But I'm so grateful to all of you. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Yeah, I wonder which Adam will get the Oscar for their performance today. Adam Schiff, Adam Kinzinger, just tearing up. They're still having nightmares about the insurrection. Folks, what we saw during the first day of the January 6th probe is weaponized political theater. It is a carefully planned out performance to make part of the public demonize Republicans and Trump supporters more specifically. After watching opening testimony today, I'm still trying to figure out what exactly are we supposed to learn from this? What is really the purpose? Here to break that down with us, Sean Davis, co-founder of the Federalist. Sean, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
What did you think about what you saw today? Let's just start with that. Let's keep it straightforward.
Well, I got to say, as a movie and art critic, the acting was terrible. It looked like a bunch of failed understudies at community theater between the Adam Schiff lip biting and the Adam Kinzinger crying. I was embarrassed for them. This whole thing's a farce. Obviously, I think riots and rioting are bad, but I have a tough time taking seriously any group of people who spent the last year telling us that a violent movement torching cities, businesses, police stations, federal courthouses to the ground was peaceful. I have a hard time taking them seriously when they say 2 hours of a riot on one day in January is the beginning of the downfall of the country. These people are shameless, disgusting, dishonest partisans. And we all know what's happening here. Their first impeachment of Trump failed, and their second impeachment of Trump failed. And now they're just decided they're going to impeach the American people. And it's an embarrassment. And I'm embarrassed and sad for every one of the clowns who took part in this farce today.
It does seem almost like a third preemptive impeachment of Trump in some way, or they're just getting it ready. They're getting the impeachment seat warm, so to speak, for Trump in case he were to come back and try to run once again. But here's Capitol Police Officer, because the police officers, various law enforcement officers they had today, were obviously center stage. Here's Harry Dunn talking about the January 6th mob. Here's what he said.
Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are being lauded as courageous heroes. And while I agree with that notion, why? Because they told the truth? Why is telling the truth hard? I guess in this America, it is.
I mean, what do you make of the? He also compared the January 6th mob to a hitman hired to kill someone. I mean, these cops. It's remarkable to me. They're saying the mob was all yelling, "Kill them! Grab their gun!" I heard all these things today. Yet that never that did not actually happen at any point in time. So it seems like a strange thing for a mob that's supposed to be an insurrection and lethal to actually not engage in an insurrection or be lethal.
Well, it wasn't armed and it wasn't an insurrection. And I hadn't seen that clip you just showed. And I got to say, my favorite part of it is Adam Kinzinger solemnly nodding along to someone else telling him what a hero he is. And Liz Cheney doing the exact same thing. These people are a joke and they're an embarrassment. And I certainly have zero interest in playing along with the games of the left here. We all know exactly what they're doing. They're going to get absolutely hosed in the midterm unless they can defy traditionally historic trends. When a new party takes over the White House and Congress, they tend to get crushed in the next midterm unless there's a big national security threat, a war going on. 2002 would be the big example where Bush and Republicans were able to defy the odds because of 9/11. And so you have here Democrats actually calling their own little show trial a 9/11 commission. They're trying to keep up the heat up and pretend like this was some massive national security threat. You even had a new reporter at the New York Times, who's a vessel for DOJ and FBI leaks. I think Katie Benner is her name. Come out and say that the big dilemma for Democrats and law enforcement right now, the big dilemma was that it's hard to call all of your opponents enemies of the state, even though it has to be done to protect national security. And that the reality of right now is that everyone who opposes the ruling regime is an enemy of the state. That's where we are right now. And that's what this commission's about. It's about framing the half of the country that didn't vote for the current regime as terrorists for opposing their politics.
Why now, Sean? Why are they doing this now? I'm curious what you think about the timing of this, and maybe give us some sense as to how you see them using this. How will they manipulate the timeline going forward so they can keep injecting the January insurrection into the public discourse for, as you point out, obvious political reasons?
Why now? Because they have nothing else. Their entire policy agenda is collapsing. You have the economy cratering, you have inflation going up, you have optimism in the country and the economy tanking. You have the president's approval levels from the polls that they actually tell you. I can't imagine what the real numbers are, showing his numbers tanking. Why now? Because this is all they got.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned Adam Kinzinger being called a hero. They're also saying Liz Cheney is a hero, and she was willing to say things today like, every 4 years this thing could happen unless we have this really serious commission. Watch this one.
If those responsible are not held accountable, and if Congress does not act responsibly, this will remain a cancer on our constitutional republic, undermining the peaceful transfer of power at the heart of our democratic system. We will face the threat of more violence in the months to come, and another January 6th every 4 years.
I think they say more than they mean to, Liz Cheney and others, when they do this whole accountability thing, Sean, because there are people who have been held in solitary confinement now for over 6 months in this country for no actual violent crime committed tied to this. There are hundreds of federal cases that are being brought. People are spending months, perhaps even years in prison for nonviolent crimes as a result of this riot. So when they say accountability, what they really mean is Trump and Trump voters, right? I mean, that's really what this is about.
Yeah, I think it's a bit funny to watch Liz Cheney talk about accountability. This is a woman who is a part of the big Russian bounties hoax that she pushed, that she orchestrated during the 2020 election. You want to talk about election interference. She was pushing stuff we all knew were lies, accusing the president of calling troops losers, accusing the president of refusing to go after Russians for non-existent bounties to attack troops in Afghanistan. And I think the reality here is that Liz Cheney's political career is over. She's a failed politician. She's one of the most unpopular Republicans in the country. And she now understands, having lost the ability to keep prosecuting her precious war in Afghanistan that had no strategy for exit or victory, that her only hope for her career is either to be an MSNBC contributor or a defense lobbyist. And so this is just her swan song. She's irrelevant. She has no political career, and she's just thrown in her lot with Democrats to snag her last 15 minutes of fame before she finally gets thrown out of office next year.
Sean Davis, telling it like it is. Good to see you, Sean. Thanks for making the time for us.
Thanks, Buck.